A stranger stands in his own palace, watching men eat his food, court his wife, and laugh under his roof.
In Homer's Odyssey, this is the moment Odysseus returns home after 20 years. Yet the poem makes us ask something stranger than whether he survives. What kind of man has survival turned him into?
The safest answer is simple. Odysseus is the legendary king of Ithaca, husband of Penelope,
Father of Telemachus and the central figure of the Odyssey, one of the great Greek epics attributed to Homer. But the harder question, the one classicists still argue over, is why this man of tricks became a hero at all.
Before the long voyage home, Homer's Iliad shows Odysseus at Troy not as the strongest warrior,
but as the man armies need when strength fails, persuasive in counsels, ruthless in raids, dangerous with words.
So the first twist is that his greatness begins not with a sword, but with intelligence. And intelligence in Greek epic is never innocent.
The Odyssey was shaped by an oral poetic tradition and is usually dated by scholars to the late 8th or early 7th century BCE.
Long after any possible Bronze Age setting it imagines.
That gap matters. Are we looking at a memory of a real world, or a story built to test every value that world admired? Homer calls Odysseus polytropos, a word often translated as of many turns, meaning resourceful, wandering, shifting, hard to pin down.
The same word that makes him brilliant also makes him suspicious, because a man of many turns can escape monsters or escape the truth.
The most famous episodes, Cyclops, Sirens, Circe, Scylla, Charybdis, belong to myth, not travel documentary.
Yet National Geographic has explored how some monsters and magic may echo real experiences, strange coasts,
dangerous currents, volcanic landscapes, and the terror of sailing beyond familiar maps.
But Homer is not mainly asking whether a one-eyed giant existed. The poem asks what happens when a leader's cleverness saves his crew one day, then his pride puts them in danger the next.
In the Cyclops story, Odysseus survives by naming himself Nobody, a perfect trick that turns language into a weapon. Then he reveals his real name as he escapes, and the victory becomes a curse.
Why would the poem make its hero so brilliant and so reckless in the same breath?
One answer is that ancient Greek heroism was not the same as modern goodness.
As recent classicists quoted by National Geographic emphasize, Odysseus can be admirable, cruel, loyal, deceitful, disciplined, and self-destructive, sometimes in the same episode.
Back on Ithaca, the story does something radical. It makes waiting as dramatic as wandering. Penelope's loom and Telemachus's uncertain adulthood become proof that Odysseus is not just a traveler.
He is a missing center, and everyone around him is being warped by his absence.
The suitors are not merely romantic rivals. In Homer's world, they are a political crisis, consuming the household of a king whose death cannot be confirmed.
So the homecoming is not sentimental. It is a test of whether identity, property, marriage, and kingship can be restored without destroying the house itself.
And then there is Ithaca itself.
History.com notes that modern Ithaca is a real island, but matching Homer's detailed descriptions to geography has produced long debate. Archaeology and geology can illuminate the world of the poem, but they cannot hand us Odysseus as a proven historical king.
That uncertainty is not a weakness of the story, it is part of its power.
Odysseus lives where evidence, memory, and invention overlap, and the poem keeps forcing us to decide which kind of truth matters most.
When Odysseus finally reaches Ithaca, he does not rush into his wife's arms.
With Athena's help in the poem, he hides, tests, lies, and watches.
The disturbing possibility is that disguise is not a temporary tactic. It may be the deepest habit of who he is.
Penelope matches him.
She does not simply recognize a husband and collapse into certainty. She tests him with the secret of their marriage bed.
built around a living olive tree, a detail only the true Odysseus should know.
Before that recognition, the poem gives us one of its most brutal scenes. Odysseus strings the great bow and kills the suitors.
Ancient audiences could hear justice in it, but modern readers also hear something colder. The survivor has come home carrying war inside him.
This is why the question, was Odysseus a hero, is too small. Homer gives us a man whose gifts, speech, patience, deception, endurance, can rebuild a family, but can also leave blood across the floor. The next question is why such a flawed figure endured for nearly 3,000 years.
He endured because the Odyssey is not only about getting home, it is about whether a person can remain himself after exile.
Fame, loss, temptation, and violence have changed every part of him.
That is why Odysseus can be king of a small island and still feel larger than empire.
So who is Odysseus?
He is a mythic Greek king, a character in Homeric epic, a veteran of Troy, a wanderer of impossible seas,
And the ancient world's most famous example of Metis, cunning intelligence under pressure.
But the stranger in the palace is the real answer. Odysseus is the hero who survives by becoming unreadable.
Then must convince the people who love him that something true remains beneath the disguises.
The Odyssey's final power is that we recognize him only when the tricks stop being escapes and become a way back home.